Hi guys, Ray from Whimsical Pictures here, wearing what amounts to very minimalist makeup for me, but I could not be asked. And today we have the return of My Dog is Being Needy, Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. So, sorry if you hear assorted dog noises in the background. It's better than him barking outside my door. But today I am bringing you the second week wrap-up for Yuri in Real Life's February manga challenge, the object of which is to read one volume of manga per day. And sorry I'm bringing this to you a little bit late. There has been kind of a bit of a family emergency, and they're not necessarily in order of like what day I read them, because the way that I read manga is very out of order and sporadic, but rather by series, so that it makes more sense to you guys and I can sort of summarize my thoughts on the series as a whole. And the first book that I read was one that I just got, and I of course had to read it because it is one of my favorite series that is out right now, and that is Volume 4 of Yona of the Dawn. And we've got everyone's favorite mom friend here on the cover. We'll see if I can get my light to cooperate a little bit. There we go. And nice back cover as well, with everyone in the party so far. This continues the story from last volume, where Yona has discovered that she has to gather up the 4 descendants of the 4 dragons of the Crimson Warrior, who in years past, according to folk legend, once were able to topple an evil usurper in the past. And of course we've got a usurper going on right now in the form of Suwon. So Yona is trying to gather these dragons' descendants in order to hopefully overthrow Suwon. And reclaim the throne that is rightfully hers. So last volume we were introduced to this guy, Yoon, who is like the cleric in the party, I guess. And we also got introduced to the white dragon, Gija, who is like a spoiled rich boy. And this time we get the introduction of Xing-Ah, who is the blue dragon. And adorable. Oh my god, he's so cute. Basically, with Gija, we got a village where the dragons are worshipped, and the descendant of the white dragon is treated like a prince. And in Xing-Ah's village, it's a village of veterans who distrust the descendants of the dragons, and so Xing-Ah was sort of raised as a pariah. Yona continues to be a fantastic series. We continue to see Yona's growth as a character, which I know a lot of people are like upset with how catatonic she is in the first 2 volumes, but that quickly becomes not the case. Since the plot of this story actually starts in Volume 3, I really recommend that people who are interested in the premise of the series read through Volume 3 and decide from there if they're going to keep going. Which normally is not something I would say, but for this one, I do say that. The next series that I read was 2 omnibus volumes, and this is The Ghost and the Lady, which is a story from the longer series, from what I understand, called The Black Museum, which is a series of vignettes by Kazuhiro Fujita, who is the creator of Ushio and Tora. And I really like his sort of grimy late 90s shonen aesthetic, so I was looking forward to reading this even before I knew the premise, which is basically this is a supernatural alternate take on the story of Florence Nightingale in Crimea, specifically that portion of her life. And there is Our Lady with the Lamp right there. And basically in this version, we have her sort of joined by a supernatural companion, the Man in Grey, which is this guy. He is the ghost of a theater in England, and presumably the basis for this story. I gather that the series overall is probably based on various existing ghost stories that Fujita finds interest in. He talks about the legend of the Man in Gray in the end of the second volume, and it was sort of interesting getting that background. These books are translated by Zach Davison, by the way, who is one of my favorite translators. He also did Queen Emeraldus, as well as most of Shigeru Mizuki's work. He's a very talented translator. Literally wrote the book on Japanese ghosts, which I recommend. It's called Yurei. And so each of these volumes actually has an essay by him about Florence Nightingale, and is just a really high quality translation overall. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. Probably not a shock, because I knew I would enjoy it. But it's very strange, it's very violent, but I don't know, it's really interesting. I learned some stuff about Florence Nightingale because I am actually not that familiar with her. So that was cool. There's some fun, informative elements, and there will be notes on the sidebars that'll tell you, where this story diverges from the actual story of Florence Nightingale. Because obviously this story is full of ghosts and, evil villains and stuff that would not have been present in Florence Nightingale's actual life. But, yeah, and these are incredible quality omnibuses from Kodansha, definitely one of their better releases. You can see the pages are sewn into the binding, which is kind of rare for manga, which is nice. I love the design of the book. And the quality of the paper is okay. It's not, anything particularly special. Oh, what I didn't expect was that the other ghost, major ghost who shows up in the story is actually, oh gosh, why is my lighting not cooperating today? Les Chevaliers d'Eon de Beaumont. So if you've seen the anime series, Les Chevaliers d'Eon, it's kind of funny to see another more outlandish take on that particular historical figure. In this case, a villainous one. I do recommend that. If the premise sounds at all interesting to you, I definitely think you should check it out. The next ones that I read was, I finally got my hands on these, which I ordered from the Right Stuff holiday sale, and that is the first 2 volumes of Blood Blockade Battlefront. Hopefully I'll get to the other 5 soon, and hopefully it's not too horrible a non-conclusion, because Dark Horse never released 8 through 10. But I really love the anime for Blood Blockade Battlefront. It quickly became one of my favorites. So I was really eager to read the manga, which, because it's a series of vignettes, focuses on more characters than just Leo, who is really the main character of the anime, along with 2 anime original characters named Black and White. And it's kind of interesting to get the story without Black and White, because the arc from the anime really is all about them. And they are entirely the invention of the director, Rie Matsumoto, who I am a fan of from Kyoso Giga, but apparently Nightow, the mangaka, is not a fan of her because she is not directing season 2, so I'm kind of curious to know what happened behind the scenes there. Presumably, what usually happens, which is the clash of 2 artists with very strong and not at all compatible voices that, maybe ended up being super compatible for the work of art that was produced, which was the anime, but presumably they just did not get along in real life. That's what I'm guessing. I have no evidence to back that up, except that that happens all the time, actually. I like Nightow, I love Trigun, so this story is actually more up my alley than Trigun, because it is about a sort of weird future version of New York called Hell Salem's Lot, or the manga calls it Jerusalem's Lot. I can't decide which I like better, because both are technically, encompassed within the Japanese pun, so they're both correct. But, basically, it's a weird version of New York after a rift to the Alter World. The manga calls it the Beyond. I actually hate that choice. I think Alter World definitely gets across sort of the B-movie charm of this series and of all of Nightow's works a lot better. The Beyond just sounds generic. But a rift to the Beyond opened up, and a bunch of, alien demons from the Alter World came into New York, and New York was destroyed and rebuilt on top of this rift, and now we have humans and Alterworlders living together. And it's like this weird B-movie. I think the manga actually points it out. It's like, no, this isn't one of those B-movies trying to cover up plot holes with CG. This is what New York actually looks like now, which was kind of a funny joke, but it's crazy, it's weird, it looks like a Space Dandy. It reminds me of Space Dandy, the sort of aesthetic of it. Yeah. Can see all the aliens in the background there. But this is specifically about the members of an organization called Libra, which is like anime X-Men, basically, who exist to solve Alterworld-related problems in secret. And this is the leader of that organization, our Professor X. His name is Klaus von Reinhardt, and he is the ultimate gentleman. And I love him. And eventually we get sort of the real bad guys of the series, which are called Bloodbreeds, and they are essentially Alterworld vampires. And there's not much more to it than that. It keeps following different characters. Every chapter is something new. This second volume includes, like, Klaus battling this crazy alien in a game of super complicated future chess. And it's awesome. It also includes a story of battling vampires on the subway, which is pretty crazy. This is what the subway looks like. But I love this. This is exactly right up my alley. It has both the crazy hyper-violence and B-movie charm, and the big beating heart that you expect from any Nightow work. Certainly from Trigun. And yeah, I can't wait to read the rest of the series. I have it out on the end table right now, waiting for me. The next book that I read was this little one-off that I got a while back because the art looks really pretty and it's about vampires and I'm weak for vampire stories. And that is Narumi Kakinouchi's The Vampire Dahlia. Death is a Kiss. This, I gave 2 stars. It really wasn't very good, but it was also quick. So, the art is very beautiful and very ethereal, but the panel composition makes no sense. And I don't just mean it's, like, creative, because I love a creative panel composition. I love a weird panel composition. Moto Hagio and Natsuki Takaya are 2 of my favorite mangaka, and they are definitely proud users of very out there panel compositions to convey sort of an atmosphere and an emotional state, and I am all for that, but this, it doesn't make sense. It's like confusing panel composition, but not for the sake of creating confusion. Like, that's what you get from this type of panel composition, is you get sort of this atmosphere of unease and confusion. You're kind of thrown off by it, which can be used to great effect, but it is not here. It's just for no reason here. I definitely got the feeling that Narumi Kakinouchi just doesn't know how to compose a layout properly. And that was my main issue with it. Otherwise, it's a pretty standard vampire story about this sort of femme fatale lady vampire who is searching for the reincarnation of her lost love. And that's it. Just not that interesting, really confusing to read, so this one's a miss. Alas. That's what happens when you buy weird volumes from the used bookstore just because it has vampire in the title. That's a lesson to you kids. And then the final collection of volumes that I read are the first 3 volumes of Immortal Rain by Kaori Ozaki. This is the mangaka who did The God's Lie, which is a one-shot that was released recently. And I had decided a while ago that I wanted to read Immortal Rain before I decided whether I was going to get The God's Lie. And the answer is an emphatic yes. If anything, I think that the story of The God's Lie probably fits her style better than this. But this, Immortal Rain, is basically Kaori Ozaki read Trigun and decided it was pretty cool and she wanted to make a version of it. This is about This girl, Machika, who is a self-proclaimed assassin, she is the granddaughter of, like, a famous assassin, I guess, and she is searching for this man, Methuselah, whose real name is Rain, who is immortal, and he has a huge bounty on his head because of his immortality. He's been alive for 600 years, and everybody's searching for him, and she has decided she's going to be the one who's going to kill him. And after meeting him in person, she basically ends up traveling with him in order to help make him human again so that she can cut off his head and it'll actually stay off. And it takes place in, like, this sort of industrial fantasy sci-fi future that was really popular in the late 90s, that you see in, like, Trigun or Jing, King of Bandits, Hunter x Hunter even. That type of world was really popular. Black Cat, too, that's another one. Which, I don't mind that type of world, it's not my favorite, but I'm okay with it. If you do something interesting with it, which I found that this did. It had a bit of a bumpy start, where sort of the relationship between Rain and Machika was sort of ill-defined, and felt pretty sudden and weird. And the pacing was a little off, but that definitely ended up sorting itself out in the second volume and then into the third volume, to the point where I'm very much looking forward to more. I really love Kaori Ozaki's art. It's sort of classic 90s manga art, but done really exceptionally well. This was a beautiful spread. She has a really good penchant for sort of portraying complicated emotions, and the characters, even the ones that haven't really been defined that much yet, Methuselah in particular is definitely an enigma. They feel like they have real depth and complexity to them, and I'm really looking forward to more. I have through volume 7, and after that, I guess I'll have to search, but looking forward to reading those next 4 volumes. I'm really enjoying it, actually. I know there's lots of mixed opinions about this series, but I am firmly on the side of liking it so far. And those are the volumes that I read for this week. Hoping to continue both Blood Blockade Battlefront and Immortal Rain in the next week. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See you next week. Sorry this was late again. Bye. Happy reading.